Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is August 9th, 2010, and I'm Darko. This first article that's up is U.S. main sponsor of terrorism. This is from Press TV and was posted August 9th, 2010. It says Iran's foreign ministry spokesman says the U.S. is the main sponsor of terrorism and that it tries to cover up this fact by leveling accusations against other countries. The U.S. State Department and its annual report released on August 5th, 2010 accused Iran of supporting terrorism. And this individual on Monday rejected the State Department report and said, quote, examples of U.S. actions show that this country has been the biggest sponsor of terrorism over the past 3 decades, but by leveling baseless accusations against other states, it attempts to cover up its own actions. He went on to stress that leveling such biased accusations against other countries could negatively affect international trust, which is essential to global security and stability. He goes on and says the U.S. has a double standard approach. And the Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman added that the U.S. military presence in Afghanistan has resulted in the increase of narcotics production, the opium trade, which is used to fund terrorism and extremism. So he's calling out the whole CIA scheme of taking over countries, getting the drug trade going, and funding their illegal wars, right? But it says Iran, as a victim of terrorism, has always condemned all forms of manifestations of such acts of violence and has taken drastic measures to fight terrorist activities. Says the international community has paid a heavy price for the unilateral approach adopted by the U.S. to allegedly fight terrorism, and this is why the Islamic Republic of Iran believes that the U.S. must be pressured to change its behavior. This next article from the Register you might appreciate. Google experimenting with spy drones, says German maker Skyview Brewing, or just fresher Google Maps. This is from August 9th, 2010. It says global small ads colossus Google is trialing a small battery-powered camera drone of a type previously used by UK police and special forces, according to reports. It's thought that the flying spyeyes might add a new dimension to the company's controversial, quote, Street View picture database, compiled by fleets of camera cars driving along roads. It says UAVs are well suited to provide more timely recording on the map service of Google Earth, says Juris, suggesting that its products would supplement the aerial photography and satellite pics used by Google as a display option in its maps and Earth apps. But it says predictably, however, privacy advocates fear that the drones would be instead used to provide an ultra-intrusive variant of the firm's controversial Street View service, which tacks on imagery from camera cars to Google's mapping products, which also famously slurp up data on local Wi-Fi nets. Well, it's like, dude, Google is already storing your Google searches. They're putting them in databases. So, I mean, and, internet traffic history. It's all recorded. So, I mean, would just be one more step, away from privacy. So, of course, people are going to be against this. Next article from Reuters, North Korea fires artillery near sea border. This is from today as well, August 9th, 2010. It says North Korea fired a barrage of military shells on Monday, some reportedly landing in South Korean waters, adding to already raised tensions on this peninsula. The firings follow the isolated state's recent threat to retaliate with, quote, physical force to join military drills by its wealthy southern neighbor and the United States. And basically what you have here is the U.S. and the South Koreans, or the South Korean government, the South Koreans per se are not exactly all for this exercise because they know what it is. It's flexing muscles. It says the prickly north has often turned to saber rattling in the past. But it's basically what the U.S. and South Korea are doing. They're flexing their muscles, they're saber rattling, they want to be attacked. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's not good when you have this type stuff going on, right? This type exercise, because it means that they want the crap to hit the fan with North Korea, and much like with Iran right now. So we also have this article from the New York Times. This is from yesterday, August 8th, and it's titled, North Korea seizes South Korean boat near border. North Korea seized the South Korean squidding boat in waters near their eastern sea border, as South Korean Coast Guard said Sunday, straining already high tensions between the two Koreas. The 41-ton boat was believed to have been detained after entering the North's exclusive economic zone where foreign fishing boats are banned, the Coast Guard said in a statement. And this actually gets kind of tied in with the first couple articles, the U.S. being the main sponsor of terrorism. Enemy invests $17 billion in Iran unrest, and this is kind of what we would call color revolutions, psyops. It's an intelligence run, and it's used to create instability, political, civil instability in a country that you want to not really invade, but a country that whatever you want to get them to do something, capitulate. Before you can actually drop bombs, usually you want to start stirring stuff up and divide them up. And that's the policy that the West does, along with everybody else. The Iranian intelligence minister says the arrogant powers of the world are spending billions of dollars on fueling ethnic conflicts to destabilize Iran's border. Quote, in the past 25 years, more than 80 centers and institutions for soft war have been founded, and around $2 billion have been spent on them annually. So he calls it soft war, because that's what it is. That's the term. The minister added that the enemy attempted to employ various methods, including, quote, fueling ethnic and religious sensitivities, especially in border areas, efforts to spread delinquency among students through satellite channels, the internet, vulgar books, and to corrupt Iran's education system. Well, this is a little speculative, but Maleshi went on to say that the evidence pointed to a large-scale and costly efforts to wage, quote, soft war in the country by distributing drugs. I think they misspelled that, among school children. The Iranian minister added the foreign powers had invested $17 billion in the post-vote unrest after 2009. That much is true. I know that. It's basically, yeah, it had to do with the voting and that, and not buying off elections, but spending money to create unrest during the elections to try to sway the outcome. This article is from really August 9th, but since they're a time ahead, it's technically August 10th. But it's titled Eyes on the Skies Over Iran's Reactor, and this is from the Asian Times Online. It says, Iran's light water nuclear power plant at Bushehr is preparing to go live again. Iranian Russian nuclear scientists and officials have announced Bushehr's reactor will soon be receiving its first shipment of nuclear fuel 36 years after construction first began on the project. This claim may be quietly fueling speculation that a military strike on Iran by Israel or the United States may be imminent. The Persian language news site Mardam Salari reported on August 3rd that members of the Iranian armed forces have been transferred to Bushehr to evaluate the security of the airspace above the site. These drones were said to have been shot down over the Bushehr the previous day as part of the exercise to test Iranian readiness for an aerial attack intercepted by defense systems of the IRGC. And so, yeah, we know that they started to move their defense industry out of the city, and they're preparing for war in Iran. They're sealing all their oil deals, their energy deals, shaking hands, and so I just want to say I don't think that there's really going to be anything kicking off like a war with bombs getting dropped, but you never know. This is U.S. plans another Kyrgyzstan base. This is from Global Research, Research's website, and this is from August 8th, 2010. It says the U.S. is planning to construct a $10 million US military base in the southern city of Osh, Kyrgyzstan, where more than 300 people died in deadly clashes in June, Press TV reported. So the U.S. Defense Department says the base, called Osh Polygon, will feature a range of facilities and weapons training services, including a secure garrison compound with officers' quarters and barracks for enlisted personnel. Range facilities, crews serve weapons and explosive ordnance, the Washington Post reported on Saturday. It says U.S. officials raised the issue of the base under ousted Kyrgyz President Bakiyev for training Kyrgyz troops for alleged counterterrorism operations. According to U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Robert Blake, Kyrgyzstan is highly unstable as tensions continue to rise between Kyrgyz government soldiers and the Uzbek minorities living in the southern part of the country. It goes on and it says that keeping the U.S. base in Manyas near the capital Bishkek is a national priority for Washington as it serves for the entry and exit points for the U.S. troops in Afghanistan. It says the U.S. has paid $45 million to the Kyrgyz government this year and $13 million in fees for the base. It says it's one of the bloodiest uprisings in June against the new Kyrgyz government, which reportedly claimed more than 300 lives. The unrest has reportedly forced more than 300,000 people across the border into Uzbekistan. Please check out Kyrgyzstan, another puppet state for the New World Order. Thank you.